Instead of trying to get them on the phone for a sales call, what I'd really love to have them do is watch a testimonial video or watch an interview with a client where they could see a client getting results. And that really changes the frame of what someone's seeing from you.
Welcome back to the Talking Web Marketing podcast with myself, Ilana Wexler. This is a show where we reveal the best tips, tricks and tactics to increasing your website traffic and then converting that traffic into leads and sales. We also discuss what's working right now in the ever-changing world of web marketing so you can apply it to your business. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Web Marketing. I'm your host, Ilana Wexler, and today I have a very special guest. His name is Charley Valher, and he is the co-founder of Outsourcing Angel. He's the host of a podcast called Confessions of a Business Owner, and he also runs the association community, so he has his finger in lots of different pies. But he is no stranger to the online world, and he actually also used to have a PPC agency like myself. So Charley has come on today's show to reveal one specific traffic conversion strategy that really contributed to the growth of his Outsourcing Angel business. And importantly, it's a traffic strategy or a conversion funnel strategy that really you can apply to any kind of industry. So for all your listeners out there that you're thinking, I don't have an outsourcing company, I can't use this strategy, you're wrong. You can apply this strategy that he reveals in detail, I really think, in any industry. So let's get stuck in today's episode right away.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Ilana.
It's a pleasure. So I asked you to come on today's show because I can relate to you. You are a fellow PPC person. So I think, and I know you know my world especially, but invited you on today's show to talk about some strategies that you are using in your business. But before we kind of get stuck into some of the nitty gritty, I wondered if you could just give us a quick intro about yourself and what you've done and kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah, of course. And I often like to think of myself as a recovering PPC addict. So once upon a time, I did have a PPC agency, but have moved on from that project. And I'll take it back a little bit because I want to give a bit of context.
Cool.
So for me, where this all started was actually in a band of all places. So when I was quite young, about 15 or 16, I was playing in a band that ended up doing reasonably well. And I thought I had made it. So I just want to take you through it. I was 16. I thought, we're making CDs, we were selling a lot of T-shirts, we were playing a lot of gigs and touring, and I thought I'd made it as a rock star. I thought I was done. You know your next step when you do that at that age? You sit there and you look at your life and you look at school, for instance, and you think, well, I don't need that. I'm a rock star. Like, surely I don't need to be concerned about higher education or finishing my high school or anything like that. So that can just have a bit of the back burner.
I see where you're going with this.
Well, as you will learn, groups of creative people are really, really hard to manage. I often kind of, joke, it's like trying to hold water. So what kind of happened for me, or how I ended up in the digital marketing world, is that I was in this band, had kind of screwed up my education to the point where I wasn't going to go on to university or anything like that. And I had to find a way to kind of make it in the world. And the internet just seemed like the easiest way at the time. So that's how I kind of ended up in the whole internet marketing space. Now, I first started on eBay and had a successful eBay store that grew up at the time because eBay was booming and it was really easy. And I always like to say this as well, it was luck, not skill, just right place, right time.
What were you selling on eBay?
Now, this is even better. I was selling men's hair loss products.
Oh, wow. That you got from where?
I was getting them from overseas. So I met this guy and he was basically just buying stuff on eBay in the USA and selling it on eBay in Australia. That was his business. And I was like, well, I can do this. This guy doesn't seem like a genius. And I did. And I was just simply doing what's kind of known as arbitrage.
Yes.
But this was like 2006, 2007 area. So this was like mind-blowing stuff at the time, and eBay was new, and the price difference between retail and eBay was dramatic. And I was like, well, this is it. Now, sadly, that didn't work out too well for a few reasons. One is that eBay started to change and a lot of competition came into the space, and my lack of skill really did start to shine. There was some clever business people in there that just knew what was up. And then the other side of that is the ability for people in the US and China and things like that to sell directly on eBay in Australia started to come through. And this was quickly turning into something where I recognized I didn't necessarily have what it takes to do well. Not to mention is that I knew nothing about logistics and moving things around. It was kind of just winging it.
Wow, interesting. And I guess that arbitrage window just narrowed and narrowed slowly.
Yeah.
As the wholesalers went direct.
Yeah, well, that's what tended to happen. So on the back of that, the question came out that, well, I need to learn how to make sales online. Like I need to learn how people have a website and buy stuff. That was the mindset at the time. So in the beginning, I tried to hire people to help me do that. And I got burned quite a few times, in all honesty. I bought a lot of snake oil.
As we all have.
I don't think there's anyone in PPC that hasn't been burnt.
I think it's just the rite of passage,
Well, out of necessity, where it really came is I was like, well, can I swear on the show? Or will I get in trouble for swearing?
You won't get in trouble. That's okay.
Okay, we're all good on that one. I was like, well, fuck this. I'll do it myself. This is fucked. I'm sure everyone looks after it. And I was like, well, I'm going to learn this. I'm not going to be reliant on these snake oil salesmen. So that was my path into kind of learning digital marketing, websites and all that stuff from there. And then I went on to eventually found my PPC agency, which was, I'll say, my first true love in business.
Yeah, nice. So you built up a very successful PPC agency, which you told me about on another occasion we were chatting. But then you decided to move on. So could you maybe sort of touch on what you embarked on next?
Yeah, and this is something that I kind of look back on and reflect all the time of like, the PPC agency, I was very green in business when I started it. And I had a whopping ego on my shoulder at the time to make it even better. So necessarily didn't ask for the help I probably should have, but I grew a business really around me. So we got to 15 staff and well on our way in revenue size, and like we'd gone into the 7-figure range and everything like that. And I really thought that was what success looked like. But the downside of that is my life was actually a fucking nightmare. It was horrible. So I was working stupid amounts of hours in something that would be probably described as the hustle these days. But in reality, my quality of life was just incredibly poor. I was incredibly burnt out. I never spent time with my friends or family, and my relationship at home was suffering. And I had this moment of awakening of going, well, this isn't really what I signed up for. This isn't what I wanted to achieve. Like I got into business so I could make great money, have freedom and flexibility, and have time. And I don't have any of these. Well, I've got the money side of things kind of working, but the other two particularly were like, this was at zero. And I couldn't really kind of work my way out of this. So I went on to eventually kind of sell off parts of that business, either client lists or systems I'd built and things like that, and moved on to my next company, which was Outsourcing Angel. And I still have that company today.
Right. And that's kind of what you've come on today's show to talk a little bit about, which let's get stuck into that area. So you want to talk about something that you have called your trust funnel. So can you kind of touch on what you mean by your trust funnel?
Yeah, absolutely. So in coming into the Outsourcing Angel, Outsourcing Angel was the new business for me in there, and that's a company that specializes in like virtual assistants in the Philippines and virtual team members, just for context.
Sorry to interrupt you one sec. So that's for business owners looking to hire a virtual assistant. So is it kind of like a recruitment company?
Yeah, very, very similar. So it's that if a business owner was looking for a virtual assistant or virtual team member, we're a handheld solution. So think of it kind of like Upwork, I guess you would call it, but with someone that's, vetting the staff, recruiting the right people, and then ensuring that it's the right fit for your business and it's actually going to work. The analogy I often use is that Upwork's like a meet and greet service. Outsourcing Angel is like a meet, greet, and integrate service that will actually get the team member up and running in your business.
But ultimately, that person becomes an employee of the other business, or Outsourcing Angel always retains that person?
Yeah, so we look after the person in the Philippines, in this case here, and have them a part of our community, and you would hire them through us, and we stay involved in making that work really well. Why this has become something that I think works really well is that all the VAs and team members have their own community in the Philippines and team to work with that we train and educate and do things over there. And I don't think the average business owner has the capabilities to do what we do. So we produce a higher quality of staff and team member and better quality talent than might be available than someone can just find on their own.
Cool. Awesome. So you built that from scratch, I believe?
Yeah, so I have a business partner in that business, Lynn Padetti, which if you ever listen to this episode, Lynn, big shout out. Now, effectively, what happened in the birth of that company, it kind of leads into the story is that I was, coming out of PPC. Lynn had the idea for this business and was really, really skilled at doing the thing, but her weak spot was the marketing.
Yep.
So we kind of combined forces, and it was like my job was, leads and sales, make it happen, make it rain. And her job was to fulfill it. And that's the birth of the company. In hindsight, we probably should have put some more effort into that, but we got along so well. And like Lynn is a true and dear friend to this day here. And I trust her completely. And we just hit it off. We knew we were right for each other.
So I guess, the challenge of getting something off the ground is, what's the starting point? Like, do you start doing the PPC stuff, or where did you start with building that?
Yeah, so I'd inheritedly, in my journey, met a lot of other agency owners along the way. Okay, so my first point of call was just contacting everyone I knew from the agency world and saying, look, I've got something going here. You're going to want to get involved in this. And that was ground zero, is we just worked our networks. And that worked really well because I had a really good understanding of marketing agencies and online business because that was my strength, and then how VAs and virtual team members could be used to dramatically lower their overheads. So that was like our first round of things from there. And that was the starting point. That kind of got us off the ground and got our first few clients. But then, of course, your network starts to, what I want to say, run dry because they're fantastic people. But, there's only so many people in our network. And we went to look and apply the skills I had in PPC and go, well, that's what we're going to start tackling. So Facebook ads was our first approach. I could see that as the place to be for what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. And how did those ads go?
So in the beginning, we used a strategy which is, I think, known as a two-step funnel.
Yep.
Okay. So we would put lead magnets or ebooks on Facebook for things like, 50 ways to use a virtual assistant, or how to save 5 hours a week using a virtual assistant.
Yep.
Things like that nature. And they did really, really well. And then on the back of that, we would put an offer to have a consult with one of our either salespeople or myself. And I would spend an hour with someone showing them how to use a virtual assistant in their business. And that was, at the time, a really good strategy. It worked well in the beginning.
So just touching on that, how many people would actually take you? Well, not how many, but what were your sort of conversion rates to get people onto that call? Because I would imagine, some people might feel it's quite a sales opportunity and they're sort of their guard's still up in terms of well, I don't know this person. Why am I going to jump on a call with them? What was your experience with that?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it did work well. I won't lie. I'm looking at some numbers that I grabbed beforehand, and it's our cost per lead was about $35 to get someone's phone number and for a call. That was our kind of running from there. The ebook download was about at the time, this is a long time ago, but we used to get leads for about $5 for an ebook and then about $35 for a consult or phone number.
That's great. And I guess when you do acquire a customer, there's a recurring aspect as well. So therefore, there's the ROI there for you.
Yeah, so it was brilliant. Now, I will disclose that at that point, about half the people who did opt in, we didn't even get them on the phone. So only half of that, you kind of got to double it if you're being honest. We're paying about $70, to get someone onto the phone.
Yeah, but still worth it, obviously.
Wasn't bad. But over time, that number just started to blow out more and more, and it got harder and harder to get people on these calls. So as I kind of was becoming in tune into everything in this PPC is the strategy never stays still. The tactics move constantly. So, we can look at a really simple way of this is back in the day of AdWords when it was 1 cent keywords, you just go nuts, really great. And then as keywords got more expensive, we had to get more clever with, the strategy behind it and what keywords we would use because, when you're paying $10 for a click, you got to get really, really more savvy. So for us, what I looked at from here and going, well, this is just getting worse and worse. And honestly, it got to a stage where it's not that the CPL moved that much. The getting the, someone to put in their phone number and want to call. We're still getting that reasonably well. I think it crept up to about 45, even near 50. But what killed us on the back end was just how hard it was to get a quality lead through and also actually have them, show up to the call, stay with us. The actual quality of business we were producing from this strategy got worse and worse and worse.
Interesting. I wonder if it's a function of the fact that people maybe, online marketing really developed over the years and people became a lot more savvy and I guess more wary to some degree and therefore weren't quite willing to jump on a call, or maybe the quality of the leads weren't getting generated at the front end. It might be a combination.
Well, both. And something I noticed is more and more of our competition was copying what we were doing. So there was more people in the space doing it. There was more awareness to what we were doing. And I mean, we would only ever sell to someone we could actually help. We would never, unethically try and close people. But it was clear that, this was getting to diminishing returns. Yeah. And the salespeople, like the feedback we were getting from them it was just so much hard work to actually close people on the phone. Like there was so much skepticism. They were spending, like the duration of the sales calls themselves was increasing massively, which was, of course, increasing our expenses as well.
So time for a change of strategy.
Yeah, definitely. And this was a strategy I'd used, before, and I just saw it could be really, really strong again. And it's something I call my trust funnel. And I still use this today in other ways, or I've used it in the past in other ways, but time and time again, it's started to be true, is that instead of, trying to just give people, lead magnets and ebooks and things like that, what we started really promoting is the success of our clients. So if someone, let's say in this case, downloaded an ebook, instead of trying to get them on the phone for a sales call, what I'd really love to have them do is watch a testimonial video or watch an interview with a client where they could see a client getting results. And that really changes the frame of what someone's seeing from you.
Yeah, I love that. It's a classic kind of, social proof.
Absolutely.
So someone would download the ebook and then would you put that video testimonial or interview like on the thank you page or would it be emailed to them later?
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit technical, but I think your audience has got it covered if they're into PPC. So this is how we would kind of look at it and going, all right, so someone's downloaded an ebook. Yep. On the back end of that, the thank you page, we would have a testimonial video or maybe just even some like text-based image ones. But we would also have remarketing pixels on these pages.
Yep.
So what we got into, or what I love doing the most, is actually using that remarketing and putting videos on Facebook, like having the interviews and testimonial videos and success stories as content on Facebook. So all of a sudden, they're seeing the success of our clients everywhere. So what I kind of viewed was like, if someone downloads an ebook that is, 50 ways to use a virtual assistant, right? They're qualified. They're wanting to know how they can use a virtual assistant. And then all the information I'm really giving them after that, rather than trying to sell to them, what I'm doing now is showing why we're the best solution and that there's more people like them that have had success with us. That's what I'm really trying to get across.
Yeah, nice. And in that testimonial video or content in whatever form, did you have some kind of call to action on there, or was just here's the testimonial?
Yes, we did. So this is where, of course, we want to be able to quantify what we're doing. Yes. I think anyone who's in PPC, if you can't measure your results, you're screwed.
Yes.
In all honesty.
Especially when you have to answer to clients.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least the positive thing here is I was only burning my own money. It wasn't as deadly.
You were the client.
Yeah, but I am a harsh client, so even more importantly.
Yes, totally. Aren't we all? Toughest critic.
Yeah, so the way we'd kind of do that is I'm a really big fan of actually uploading the videos themselves into the Facebook platform or into YouTube and then having links or call to actions from there, but in a really subtle way. Like, I don't like being the sleazy type marketer online. No. So it's like, if you like this video and would like some help with outsourcing, then click here and we're more than happy to have a call with you.
Nice. Okay. And when you were running those remarketing ads with the video testimonials, did you find that people were sharing those videos or commenting on them on the ads themselves?
It's a really interesting one. And I find, if you're in PPC, you inherently find people fascinating.
Yes.
You really do. And some people really did like the videos and found them helpful. And they would often quote the videos in like the other side of it of going, I saw this video and this is what I really want to achieve, which I go, winner, that's exactly what I want. And then on the reverse of that is like, we would get some haters as well.
Haters will always be haters, won't they?
Inevitably. I mean, even in doing podcasts and things like that, I've inevitably managed to have haters in everything I've done. And I think that's kind of a good sign. I've kind of come to the thought of, if you don't have any haters, you're not trying hard enough.
Totally. I love that. So that sounds like a really interesting strategy. And I can, from a psychology point of view, totally see that working because, they've kind of put up their hand going, yes, I'm interested in this, but my guard's still up because I don't know who you are. And it's a great way to build up your credibility and through social proof, which is the ultimate kind of way of doing that, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I really started to think a lot about in how I like to be sold to. Because you got to look at it, and this is one of those harsh things, is inheritably, we all like to buy stuff. Like I got a ton of stuff around me that I've bought, and I'm even looking at buying other things. But when I look at how people sell, it makes a huge difference to whether I actually buy or don't buy. And if I feel like someone's pushy or just trying to really benefit themselves, I don't enjoy that. And I don't want to be a company that does that to other people. So in this method from here, I really started to take on that that's not what people are looking for. And when I kind of shifted that and put I'm just going to show you what we can do for other people and show you other people that have had the success with us. And if you're like one of these people and this is the type of thing you're after, then we're likely the best solution. And it was like a huge shift, like company-wide.
It's like rather than tell you I can do it, I'm going to show you that I can do it.
Definitely.
Awesome. So how did you come up with this? You said that you kind of had used it prior. In what way did you use it prior that you learned to apply it this way?
Okay, so I'll go back to the first time I applied this strategy now, because very early on in the agency world, as we all do, is we have to figure out how to get clients. And I had a mentor at the time who said to me that, the best way to go about it is just find 3 people who have your target audience. So I wanted to work with business owners who were looking to grow their business with online marketing. So he's like, find people who have that audience, find 3 of them, go to them and say you'll work for them for a month for free. And then after that month, they have to pay you based on the results you are getting them, but they also have to make you a testimonial video and show it to their audience. Brilliant strategy that is so applicable today. I wish I could say I came up with it, but I didn't.
That's all right. You've applied it in your own way.
Yeah, so that in the very start of my agency, I did that. Now, one person it just didn't work out with. They were just a bit unethical and they were a bit dodgy, and I think they were more trying to take advantage of my free month of labor than the long game. But the other 2 people, it went smashingly well. Like I was able to produce really great results for them where I turned them into raving fans really quickly. And like, I'll be real, for that month, all I did was focus on them. I communicated well. I was running so many ads. Like I brought the best version of myself to that experience. And like they were raving fans and both of them turned into long-time clients. Like that experience turned into, 4-year clients. But on the back of that, the amount of referrals I got from that experience and how many people, not even just through like who they showed their audience, but they were telling their friends. They were saying like, well, look, you should speak to Charley. He's just done this stuff for me. And like introductions into rooms I wouldn't have been able to get into started to appear.
That's amazing. Do you have an idea of kind of once you started using this new method, the testimonial method, rather than going straight for getting people on the phone call, do you have some idea of the effect that it had on the business at that time?
Yeah, so at the time, I think my agency, before I introduced this, we were doing maybe 10 grand a month. And then like correlating, looking at that next window as we went from doing like 10 grand a month to like 60 to 70 grand a month, like in a very short window, like 3 or 4 months. Like it was absolutely exponential growth, which was a problem of its own to be dealing with.
A good problem.
Yeah, but you know how I mentioned that ego earlier?
Yes.
Oh, well, that type of growth fed that ego very well. And I think I became a little bit arrogant at the time, in all honesty. But it's like, what an experience. But then it really opened up a whole other side of business that I hadn't dealt with. Like people often glorify fast growth. And I thought, I was a big deal and all what shot from there. But it was a nightmare because that is what fed into like I had to hire people. We had cash flow issues. It opened up all the other challenges of business that I just wasn't ready for.
Yeah, I guess, as they say, your problems don't go away. They just change, really, don't they?
Yeah. And ultimately what happened there is I couldn't pay myself for a good 6 months. I just had to keep investing in talent and tools and resources and equipment and offices and all kinds of things like that to ease that out.
An amazing learning experience for you.
It was. And when I suppose, think about, how this had a role at Outsourcing Angel. So to loop back to that story is like, our lead quality and all those issues were coming through. And then when we introduced the trust funnel, like the quantifiable results were just awesome. And I'll go through some indicators that were really cool now because I think people like the details on this stuff. Is the number one thing that I noticed, which was an impact from me, was the sales team. So the guys said that it became less like a sales call and more like just taking an order call. They felt like they were like, at the McDonald's counter and someone was ordering a Big Mac. So the massive duration saved in people making sales. And like we actually found like it deloaded that side of the business in a really, really good way. The second indicator is the retention. So the types of clients that we were attracting and being appealed to by being, I suppose, marketing in more of this is what we can do for you way instead of trying to sell, were higher quality clients. So in a business that is recurring, churn is like the absolute enemy. If you're creating a high churn rate, your costs are just so escalated because you, especially in what we do with like constantly needing to recruit new people for new clients. So that was the second one, was going, well, people are staying longer.
As they say, churn is the enemy of growth, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. But as for the front end of things though, you've got to imagine now that we were actually spending more money on actual ads. So to get someone on the phone was more expensive. So because we were going, we'll do the ebook still, and then we'll do the remarketing ads, and then we'll bring them to a landing page for an offer, we kind of added in a whole extra step and a longer layer to come through. So our CPL did go up. We did get near, I suppose, more to that $50 range, or even, in some cases closer to $60 range. But I was completely okay with that based on the effects it was having on the other side. One of the things in PPC I look at so often is that, and I think we can all be guilty of this if you've ever had any form of PPC business, is we can get obsessed with seeing that conversion number and trying to optimize for that rather than trying to optimize for the success of the whole business. And that was a really good lesson I took from this experience.
Interesting. I guess, as you say, it's not about the quantity of the leads, it's the quality of the leads. And I would totally agree with that. I would any day for a client be happy with 100 quality leads and 1,000 really low quality leads.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners who are getting excited about how they could possibly apply it to their business, what are some things that you need to do in order to do this? Obviously, like how do you facilitate getting a video testimonial? I would imagine some people might be feeling a little bit, I guess, hesitant or shy to kind of ask for it. So what are some strategies that you've used to get these testimonials?
Yeah, so I think I'll go through a few things here. First off, if you're in business these days, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You have to start doing this. I think everyone needs to be better documenting the success of their clients, the testimonials for their clients, and the journey we take people in. So if you're not doing that at all right now, the low-hanging fruit is starting to introduce that in your business and making sure any potential new clients are seeing that information. So how you go about it is like, honestly, we are spoiled for technology. Now, I didn't go further back into my story, but the first thing I did, my first role or job, was that I actually used to develop people's photos at Kmart.
Really?
I did back in the day when we had film. And so, of course, being a little bit know-y in this space, like what an iPhone can do compared to what a camera can do then, I'm like, it's just unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable how far the technology's come. So to get video testimonials from clients now is so easy. They're walking around in their pocket with the thing that can do it.
But I would imagine some people might feel a bit shy getting on camera.
Yeah, so we had that a little bit as well. And I had some people, and like they would do videos, and I'll be real, they weren't good, not usable.
What do they need to do that it makes it usable?
Yeah, so having a good script. So we would look at, helping clients understand how to structure it. And it's not that we would insert the words or tell them to, hey, say these exact things or anything like that. We would just give them a bit of a framework where they could insert their comments and be a little bit more confident. The second thing is that I think some of them go for way too long. Like a testimonial video, attention spans are hard enough. Like a good minute is amazing. Obviously, there's no such thing as too long, only too boring. But I think that takes a lot of the pressure off.
So going back to what you said before about some kind of good script, can you give me an example of a way to help someone give you a good testimonial?
Yeah, definitely. So the best testimonials we get. So first part is obviously the intro.
Yep.
So, hi, I'm Bob from Bob's Drink Bottles. I don't know. We'll go with that one. So saying who they are and what they do.
Yep.
Because we want whoever's watching the testimonial to be able to relate who they are.
Yep.
So without the intro, no one's ever clear on if it's suitable for them. And I think that gets overlooked. You want people to say what industry they're in.
So it's sort of relatable.
Yeah. Because I'll give you a really, we can look at that in context. If I say, hey, I'm Charles from the investment house, Charles Schwab Broking here, unless you're in investment banking, right, that's not going to be as relatable. So making sure that the people you are using are relatable to your ideal customer, really important.
Okay, good to know.
Second part of that is that what you want to go through next at a really simple context is the where you were at before and then where you were at after.
Mm-hmm. That before and after. Yep.
Yeah, take people on the transformation. So, before working with Bob's Drink Bottles, I was really dehydrated and thirsty. I just constantly was always looking for where my drink bottle was. And then after working with these guys, I felt like I was hydrated all the time and had a fantastic drink bottle. And I'm just using a drink bottle because I have one on my desk. But obviously you can apply that to anything and give people, the context of the before and after. The next part is the impact. Okay. So it's like, based on this happening, what type of impact has that had on your business? So, well, now that I'm hydrated, I'm so much better at PPC, and like our results have doubled. I'm making an extra $1 million a week.
Awesome. So this is almost like a copywriting formula to some degree.
It is. It actually is a copywriting formula.
Yeah, nice. I recognize it.
Well, it's funny when you work in PPC for a long time. It's like copywriting is one of those skills you do pick up along the way, and you take it everywhere. I've got to be careful. I even use it like, at home. I'll write notes on the fridge trying to like close my wife into an idea.
Oh, that's funny. And is there any kind of way that you recommend ending a testimonial, or you just end with that impact?
Ooh, so this is the crux. You ready? This is the secret sauce.
Ooh, okay, ready.
Okay, so we've done all these things from there, and then the last part is what we want to do is look for the objection, okay? So what you would say is, on this last part here is removing any doubt. So if there's a common objection you get with from there, that's where I really like to throw that in, because inevitably when people go through our marketing, right, if they've got an objection in their head they don't feel is solved, they don't buy, okay? And this is such a crucial lesson in many, many ways. So I'll give you an example that's probably more relatable than the drink bottle one here is like with the virtual assistants, one of the common objections is that, is their English going to be good enough? So in the testimonial at the end, if I can include something that says, and the English quality was amazing, then that person's going to go, objection gone. Yeah. And that kind of triggers that buying momentum.
So I'm just curious, like in you, I guess, facilitating that right content, because, you as the person wanting that testimonial know what the objection is. How do you then say to your success client, do you ask them to kind of address that objection, or how do you facilitate that?
So I'm a big believer in integrity.
Absolutely.
Right? I would never give a client an objection that I want to be said. So what I actually talk to them about, and obviously like you're giving them this information, is I get them to think back, and I'm like, what was your objections? What were the things that you were thinking about that were going to stop you from buying or stop you from becoming a customer? Like, what did you doubt we were going to pull off?
I like that, because I too am a big believer in, not believer, but I guess I too, integrity is super important to me. And in this industry that we're in, there are so many sharks, so that I feel that at the end of the day, that's all you really have. So that's, I guess, where I was going with that question is that how do you maintain your integrity while still getting those objections addressed? Yeah.
So this is if someone's recording on their own method, that can be really good. I will give another method that's working incredibly well also, and that's interviewing. So what I did, and I think if you jump on YouTube and search for Outsourcing Angel, you will see we've got a channel or testimonial from there. I'll make sure I give you a link to it. But for some clients, they were just super awkward. As you said, like they didn't have usable content. It's okay. Not everyone's, gifted on camera, and doesn't mean they're not talented at what they do in any way, shape or form. But I would actually do a video interview with them on Zoom or like on Skype or something like that. And we would record that, and I would ask questions, and like I could be very leading then and go like, oh, how did you find the quality of English from the virtual assistants?
Yeah, nice.
So I can ask questions that are the objections.
And did these people mind being used, in the remarketing ads? Like, did they mind their video being used? Obviously, I'm sure you were upfront with them about it, but did you have many people who go, oh no, I don't want to do that?
Do you know what? Of the people we asked, I don't think we had anyone that was against it, in all honesty. I never had a flat out no. It's not to say it couldn't happen, but this is the thing, is if you're providing a great service, so something at Outsourcing Angels is we're so big on it. Like, we aim to be the best at what we do. I just don't see a point in being average. So it's like when it comes to how we deliver, we put everything into it. And I say our customer service is some of the best in the industry. So because we aim for that level of delight, I almost feel like there's a little bit of people are happy to do it for us a little bit. They're like, well, yeah, I am having a great time. I'd love to share this stuff.
What has been the most interesting thing that you've found by doing this?
I think the most interesting thing that came from this is how well we come to understand our clients from it. So there's like a reverse of this is like anyone who's in PPC and listened to the interview to this point can see this all logically makes sense. And like we can see the beneficial gains of putting more trust in our marketing. But the reverse of that is if you're having more conversations with your clients and understanding the objections, understanding how their transformation has been or what they perceive as the wins, they're giving you all the ammunition you need for your content. They're giving you like everything you need to be presenting to your clients. So in reverse, it was like we felt like we knew what marketing material would be useful or working.
That's amazing. And I think anyone listening to this, like, although they're most likely not in an outsourcing angel style industry, I'm sure their head's probably reeling of thinking, how can I apply this to my own business? Because I think absolutely you can. These are like core sales funnel principles that can be tailored to any kind of industry. I'm like struggling to think of an industry that I can't see it working in actually.
Yeah, so this is something I like to think about, and like, this is this trust funnel that I talk about, the context of it. It's not sticky to one platform. It's not like this will only work on Facebook.
Yeah,
or this will only work. Yeah, it's designed like this is a marketing principle, and it's like you're just using the tactics of it today to apply it. Do it in a messenger ad, do it via email, put it on your website.
No, I love that. And I love kind of taking those classic marketing and sales fundamentals and just applying it online, because I think people get lost in this whole, online, what am I going to do online? And it's its own different beast, but it's not. It's the same core principles, just replicated in an online manner. And you've done exactly that. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that wonderful strategy.
Well, it's funny. What I actually think the biggest mistake is in PPC on the back of this is looking at it and going, there's a lot of people out there trying to apply tactics to a shit strategy. Absolutely. And it's like, you can't necessarily do that. Knowing the latest Google tactic doesn't make a business.
That's right. And I would imagine that this is very scalable strategy. As soon as you start getting more customers and you've got more testimonials and just adds more social proof, and it's sort of it's a compounding effect.
Yeah. And if your clients aren't willing to give you testimonials, that's a sign you need to work on your business. Yeah. It's like, damn, I need to change what I'm doing so people want to give me a testimonial.
Wow, that is awesome. Thank you, Charlie. I'm sure anyone listening to this, wherever they're at in their business and whatever industry they're working in, I'm sure they can apply it in some form to their own business. So thank you so much. I know you're a very busy person, so thank you for taking the time out of your day. Where can people find out a bit more information about you?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a shameless plug of my own podcast.
You should. Absolutely. This is your opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. So this is the trust funnel right here. No, I'm kidding. This is something where I look at. So I do have my own podcast called Confessions of a Business Owner, which Alana, you were just a guest on and had a great time recording that with you.
Yes.
That is definitely the best place to start and hear more about what I'm getting up to. For anyone that's looking for virtual assistants or virtual team members, then outsourcingangel.com is the best place to go from there.
Awesome. So yeah, Confessions of a Business Owner. I've listened to the podcast myself and can definitely endorse it as well. There's your testimonial.
There's the trust, guys. You're on it. I just got it.
That's right. Thank you so much for coming on today's show and sharing your wisdom with our listeners. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, check out Charlie's work and we'll catch you all on the next episode.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have been listening to the Talking Web Marketing podcast. For more information or resources on today's episode, head on over to talkingwebmarketing.com.